Hi guys, Charlie with Boxing Focus. Let's talk Robert Guerrero versus Keith Thurman. I like Keith Thurman in this fight. Not a big fan of Robert Guerrero, not least because of his name. Really should be pronounced Guerrero. But it doesn't. Yeah, but that's irrelevant, obviously. Guerrero kind of raided the welterweight division to get his shot at Floyd Mayweather Jr. He was primarily fighting at lightweight, and then he jumps up, he skips light welterweight, goes in with iodine, cook iodine, and he looked good against iodine. He threw a lot of punches, but iodine since was kind of exposed as a bit of a weak fighter. Not done very much since he lost to Guerrero. Then he beat Andre Berto. I thought that was a bit of a joke, if I'm honest. The referee was absolutely awful in that fight. Guerrero jumped on Berto and caught him a bit cold. But then after that, it turned into this maul on the ropes. And Guerrero was using his head side to side, scything it into Berto's face. And Berto's eyes closed up, not as a consequence of the punches, but as a consequence of the head. And both of his eyes basically swelled shut. And despite this pretty bad physical disadvantage and the fact that the referee just had no interest in making it a boxing match, Berto was winning the fight on the inside. He was landing uppercuts all night, and I actually scored the fight for Berto. So despite the fact that the referee was not giving Berto anything, I thought that Berto landed enough effective punches to win the fight, but obviously the decision went to Guerrero, but I don't think it was a particularly impressive win, especially given the nature of it. But this win over Guerrero is enough. Sorry, this win over Berto by Guerrero is enough to get him a shot at Floyd Mayweather Jr. And Mayweather made easy work of Guerrero. He made easy work of him. The thing is, when a smaller fighter comes up to the welterweight division, and then Mayweather's not a big welterweight, but he's fast and he's accurate with his punches, and he's got a decent punch on him. And it was pretty obvious soon enough that Guerrero did not have what it takes to walk through Mayweather's punches. He tried for like one round, and then he wasn't enjoying being hit flush, and he backed off and he stood off Mayweather for the rest of the fight, and it was a crap fight and an easy win for Floyd Mayweather. And a massive anticlimax. But that's what happens if you get the best in the world, arguably the best pound for pound fighters in the world, choosing weak opponents. You're going to get mismatches, you're going to get crap fights. That's one of the reasons that Floyd Mayweather has so many people really a bit pissed off with him in terms of the way he conducts himself, the way he thinks of himself in relation to the sport. Anyway, back on topic, on Guerrero. So at welterweight, I don't think he really has it, if I'm honest. Since he lost to Mayweather, he's had one fight. I haven't seen it. It was against a Japanese guy. I'm not really interested enough to watch it. But one fight in nearly 2 years before he fights Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman is not somebody who was fighting at the lower weights when he was young. He is a welterweight. Keith Thurman is strong and he hits hard at this weight. He's got great technique. He's a bit like a mini David Haye. That's the comparison I like to draw with Keith Thurman in terms of, they both like the braided hair, cornrow look, and but more importantly, the way they move and the way they throw big shots. Now, Keith Thurman copped a bit of criticism for his last fight because he failed to knock somebody out, basically. And he won that fight pretty comfortably. And then he was a bit marked up, so he'd obviously taken a few shots. It was against Bundy. He dropped Bundy in the first round, but then Bundy was a tricky customer. He wasn't easy to hit. He was putting a bit of power in his punches, and he was technically very tricky. And then it was a shutout, and he copped criticism for basically really easily defeating a then undefeated fighter and a legitimate welterweight as well. Bundy was not, not somebody who had been dragged up from several divisions down. So I don't really get the criticism. You can't be expected to knock everybody out. It's just the way boxing is. You're going to come up against people who are good and tough and technically tricky, and that's who Bundy was. But despite this, Thurman was never in particular trouble. He was never in any danger versus Bundy. He got stung by a couple of shots, but they were occasional moments in rounds he was otherwise dominating easily. Guerrero is not hard to hit. He's not like Bundy. He's not technically tricky. He's a little bit crude. He's either volume or he's a brawler, basically. He was very successful down at 135 because he was massive at 135. This guy was really big at 135. At 147, he's not really big. He's not really big at all, and I think Thurman's going to knock him out. The best thing about Guerrero is his father and the controversy that he brings and the entertainment value that he brings, in my opinion. And looking forward to seeing Thurman take him apart. Guerrero was beaten by Salido. It was overturned because Salido failed a post-fight drug test. Thurman's bigger, harder hitting, fitter and stronger than Salido. Well, perhaps not fitter, but he's of that kind of caliber in terms of the way he trains and the dedication he brings to the sport. Salido is himself a bit of a tricky fighter because he's very unorthodox, but I think Thurman's slick enough. He's great at moving. He's got power in both hands. He puts his punches together well. He's technically very good. He ticks all the boxes. There's very few weaknesses in Keith Thurman. If anything, he's perhaps a little bit over-aggressive at times, so he does walk into shots. But other than that, I don't think Guerrero's got the power to really trouble him, other than the fact that he will walk into a couple of shots that Guerrero throws. Otherwise, it will be a dominant performance from Thurman. That's what I'm expecting. I think it's one of the easier fights to pick this year, despite the fact that some people would think on paper, given Guerrero's record, you might say it was 50-50, but that record was largely constructed down at 135 pounds. He's not beaten anybody really of note, really convincingly in the welterweight division. Berto is his best victory, basically, and that was a fight with a giant asterisk by it. This is Charlie with Boxing Focus. Let me know if you're similarly inclined when it comes down to this fight.